You're listening to the Peasinner Network. For more great podcasts, go to peasinner.com.au.
Spoiler alert. I mean, honestly, if you listen to this podcast, spoilers.
Spoilers.
Hi guys, Ciarán here. Now, as you may or may not know, we have a Patreon. This week, we're giving you a bit of a sneak peek into our Patreon exclusive episodes. In this episode, we answer questions from one of our patrons, discuss headcanon, and just generally have a bit of a chilled chat. The sort of thing that you wouldn't find in one of our usual episodes. So if you like what you hear, come and join us over at patreon.com/pleaseattendcarefully. We have tiers starting at $2, but we also have a lot of content that we put up there that we still choose to make free. Like last week, we had a conversation about bigotry in fandom surrounding transphobia that we felt was better on Patreon than on all streams. So come and check it out. If you're joining on the free tier, you don't need to enter any credit card information. Just come in, make an account, and you can check out all the stuff we've been doing. That's all from me, and I hope you enjoy this week's episode. Bye! Please attend carefully. In conversation. We've been rifling through our message bag and found several Time Lord message cubes.
A box?
Doctor, what is it?
I got mail.
So yeah, all of you get your 6 cards out and make your cube and send us your message. That is such an old school reference. I'm not sure if anyone's actually going to get that.
I don't think anyone is going to get that.
Oh, because that's how the second Doctor summons the Time Lords at the end of the War
I don't think
Games.
anyone's going to get that.
Which is why Neil Gaiman had the cube in the yeah. Anyway, we got messages. People have been asking us things, which I'm not sure how I feel about that because I'm used to telling people things, but I'm not used to answering to them.
Yes. In particular, we have Patreon, and the Computer Bank tier comes with the opportunity to ask us a general discussion topic or a headcanon or something periphery to the show, perhaps, that you'd like us to discuss. It could be anything about the fandom as well. So we've got one.
Although at this point, anyone can ask us anything they want. It's just whether we're contractually obliged to talk about it.
Yes,
or not.
exactly. So this
but please do ask us things.
Yes, this one is specifically one we are going to talk about.
We've been paid to. It's kind of how that works. Yes. So Amber, what is the subject?
This one comes from a listener called Gaz, who, if you're on Tumblr, you can find them at MasterY42. They have a lot of great master content on their blog. I follow them.
We love them.
And they have asked us to discuss Professor Lazarus from Series 3 of the Russell T Davies era and his connection to the Unbound Master, who Mark Gatiss also plays.
Yep.
And to have a look at whether or not there is any, connections to them being potentially the same person.
On the face of it, like when I first got that message, I went, I don't know. After us sitting down and watching the episode that we haven't done in a while, it's like sitting down and watching the Lazarus Experiment. There's a lot more credence to that than I would have originally assumed.
Yeah, it's great. So obviously Mark Gatiss, he played the Master for an Unbound story.
Yes, Sympathy for the Devil.
Yes.
Which then got spun off into the Adventures in the Other Universe. I believe Big Finish referred to him as the alternate Master. At least that's how he is. That's how he was referenced in the script for Masterful.
Okay.
It was very interesting. If you go to the fantastic fandom page for Masterful and look, they give you a list of what the Masters were referred to as, which is really cool. So yeah, he got spun off from Sympathy for the Devil into the alternate universe adventures with Bernie Summerfield, the new adventures of Bernie Summerfield.
Mm-hmm. And if you're listening to this, we have an episode out on Sympathy for the Devil.
We do. It's probably one of my favorite episodes we've done, and it's one of my favorite Doctor Who stories of all time. It's an amazing performance as the Master. It truly it's
yes.
It's unlike any other Master. I think it's a bit more possibility to be a bit more florid. It's a bit more it's a bit greasy, I think. He's a bit sort of oh yes.
which is not, a take on the Master, I guess, because he would have tried to have done his own take on it that we hadn't already seen.
Yes, absolutely.
So he would have come before any of the new, like the modern Masters.
Absolutely. He came out. So Sympathy for the Devil came out in 2003. Also, I don't think we can really discount the Mark Gatiss is just a brilliant actor in general,
Yes.
and a brilliant comic actor. Rose to fame with the show The League of Gentlemen, which some of it stands up, some of it doesn't. But it's gone on to do such other wonderful things. But I think we also can't really discount the fact that he is a gay man playing the role.
Yep.
Which I think sort of plays into his sort of the sort of lurid character that he's come up with. There's a great bit in I can't remember which audio it is now, but he's like got some henchmen and he's just like, yes, get the oil, come on. And you're just like, Master, I've never heard you talk like this.
So looking at the context of this episode, it's hard. Like, I wish I could remember at the time, because no one else I knew watched Doctor Who back then, like directly in my circle of friends or anything.
Yeah.
And no one certainly would have ever watched any classic Who, so there would have been no speculation on, is this the Master? I would have loved to have known at the time if the fandom like thought or was trying to guess that the Master was going to make an appearance.
From what I remember, it is, and let's face it is so sad that you and I didn't know each other as teenagers. We were only like 30 Ks apart, like not far away.
What school did you go to?
I went to Trinity.
Oh, right. Okay.
Yeah, we both grew up in the northern suburbs.
Yeah.
We were very, very close. So, let's face it, Doctor Who was bringing back new villains every year. This is season 3.
Mm-hmm.
We have had the Daleks. We've had the Cybermen. Everyone's waiting for it.
Yep.
Everyone's waiting for the Master. Everyone wants to see the Master everywhere. I mean, especially when you've got this story right smack bang in the middle, and we know from the trailers it is about a man going into a machine old and coming out young.
Yeah.
So you take one look at it and you just like, the Master, like Time Lord, regeneration is involved here.
Yes, especially with the history of like the Decayed Master, like looking for ways to rejuvenate himself.
Yes.
And the the cheetah virus and the getting the Doctor's body. Like, he's got a history of finding alternate ways to regenerate. So this is a story primed to get people talking. Also, Mark Gatiss has played him before.
Yes, and realistically, for big fans, not that long ago.
Yeah, and we don't know. There's no precedent that's been set in New Who about whether they're touching Big Finish or not.
Yep.
Like, we don't have any reason, I guess, at that point to believe they might not bring through the Master they establish in the audios.
Yep.
We know now that they don't really touch any of the Big Finish stuff in the canon, but at the time, it was still new territory.
Yeah.
You absolutely, I think, could have believed, oh, is this going to be, are they going to do it?
Yeah. I think at the time, though, Doctor Who was kind of separated. It was kind of hived off. Like now, as Big Finish has grown, they've taken on new properties. And I think it's not so much that they've taken on new properties, it's that current Doctor Who has come back and like has dipped back in. And so we're starting to get characters who are concurrent in both TV and Big Finish.
Yeah.
Which is what makes it kind of a little bit complicated. Because for a very long time there, like Doctor Who had, like Big Finish had the rights to everything up to the War Doctor.
Yep.
That was all they had. 1 to 8.
Mm-hmm.
That was it. Couldn't touch anything else. And then it moved on. So, yeah. We should also point out that the character of this Master, this alternate Master, is from a parallel universe. He is the direct regeneration of the Suave Master,
Yep.
Roger Delgado, which, as we've kind of come to realize, I think, as we filling in the gaps as we've gone along, that is that Master's final regeneration.
Yes.
He's basically the alternate Beavers.
Mm-hmm. So yeah, this could be an alternate timeline where this is now, they're bringing this one through and he needs to find a new way to regenerate.
Yep.
And Gaz would also like us to discuss whether or not this Harold Saxon, who we now also know to be the Master.
Yep. Spoilers!
would they help themselves? If they knew that that was themselves, would they help each other? Is that why he's funding the project?
There's an interesting fact, isn't it?
Because I also want to say that about this episode. sorry to cut you off,
No, it's fine.
is that there's 2 red herrings. The waiter, who they're also mildly,
Oh, the guy who's just like, there's a lot you don't know about the Doctor.
yeah.
Yeah.
And yes, the mysterious Harold Saxon, who's funding this project.
Yeah, and Harold Saxon is a seed that has been sown
Throughout the whole series.
Throughout the whole series, widely. You know what? I can answer that question straight off the bat. Whether it is an alternate version of the Master, or whether it is Lazarus, or whether it is just a human named Lazarus. I mean, is that like nominative determinism? Like, did he start doing this because his name is Lazarus, or is his name Lazarus because he's doing this?
You can obviously see it, I think, as a name the Master picks for himself, as a disguise name.
It's such a big thing. Mark Gatiss also has a habit of hiding his name when he does the credits. So in Sympathy for the Devil, he is credited as Sam Kisgart because that's a wonderful old Tony Ainley thing that he used to do.
So you said you could answer the question.
I can answer the question. So whether it is a human or whether it is another version of the Master, I think Saxon would behave exactly the same. Saxon is only doing this for his own benefit.
Yep.
Everything that Lazarus is doing is helping Saxon. He doesn't care what happens to Lazarus. He doesn't care if Lazarus suddenly gets regenerations and lives forever.
Yeah.
So long as he has that technology that he can then use.
He's the guinea pig.
Yeah, he is the guinea pig.
Even if this was another version of the Master.
If it's another version of the Master, even better.
Yeah, because he can test exactly what's going to happen to himself.
Yeah.
With this technology. So it's a great way to test it.
Because an interesting thing watching this episode, and a lot of people will forget and not, I think, make the connections. Because he mentions in that final episode of that season, the Saxon Master, that he can turn the Lazarus power in his screwdriver and make the Doctor look old or like a gnome.
Yeah, reverse engineer the...
Yeah, he can reverse engineer it.
Yep.
But, so the logo for the Lazarus Project is this sort of drops, the sort of spinning swirl of circles, which is the same pattern on the Master's ring, which is what allows the Master to come back.
Yep.
So this Lazarus thing that is happening here is what causes the Master's return in the end of time.
Mm-hmm.
He has used this technology to cheat death. So this is the Master using this technology. This is him thinking several steps ahead.
Yep.
This is Saxon Master thinking several steps ahead, which is not something we see the Saxon Master often doing.
No.
Because he's often depicted as more psychopathic. But he's thought ahead. So the Lazarus thing is him protecting himself. So whether it is the Master or whether it isn't, I think it's all the same to the Saxon Master.
Yeah, I think the episode wants to bait you into thinking it could be.
Yes.
I think they're very aware. Russell T Davies is very good at getting us to talk, speculate about what things are. And I think that this trailer with this casting at the time gets a particular part of the fandom saying, because media and internet culture was nowhere near what it is. There would have been message boards, forums.
True.
I wonder if we could dig back, how far I could go back and find some old forums from the time.
Editor's note. As we said, it's hard to remember what people were saying at the time because it's so long ago now. So what we decided to do was go looking, and we found some forums still intact from 2007, people posting on the day that this episode came out. It's this amazing little time capsule. So after this episode, they aired the mid-season trailer, which showed John Sim as Harold Saxon gassing the cabinet room. And the thing we've really noticed from these forums is that people didn't want to accept that it was the Master, because that's too easy. One person said it was the Doctor's long-lost son. There's a few people suggesting the monk. And my personal favourite is someone saying that it's the Valeyard, but the Valeyard is grown from the Doctor's cut-off hand from the Christmas invasion. That's a whole year before that became a plot point. And can you imagine how ballistic they would have gone in just a few weeks when that hand turned up in Utopia? But yeah, it's one of those things that I think Doctor Who fans kind of fall into, where they assume it's not going to be the simple answer. I've done it. I remember distinctly a friend saying to me one day, "Hey, you know that character Missy? I reckon that's short for mistress, and that she's the Master." And I looked her dead in the eyes and I went, "No, that's too easy." Stephen Moffat wouldn't do that. Would and did. So yeah, we'll be posting up some of the clips we found from these forums on Tumblr. Have a look if you're ever a little bit bored. Possibly. I mean, I on with the remember podcast, because this is around the time I I grew up in a certain level of poverty, so I didn't actually have the internet growing up. I didn't get the internet until I was well into my teens. Like have access to the internet, which is around when this started coming out. Like we're talking 2007. So it's my last year of high school. So I've got the internet. I would go on the Doctor Who website, which at the time was such a huge thing. Like every week they would be posting up new stuff. Like they had games, they had sound bites, they had image galleries. It was and you would just be given like an image of Mark Gatiss as Dr. Lazarus or Professor Lazarus, and you're like, who is that? What is that?
Yep.
You'd be given an image of that woman, Lady Thor, which is such a wonderfully evocative name. And you're like, who are they? And, you know, you would have that for months leading up to the episode, and then you would finally get the episode and watch it, and you're like, there's so much more.
Yeah, so my thing would have been that I probably would have bought Doctor Who magazine.
Yep.
And just read whatever was coming out through Doctor Who magazine. And then maybe I would have been lucky enough, because when I was a teenager, I played Magic the Gathering. Maybe if I was in a card store for playing cards, I might find somebody else who's a stranger who also watches
Doctor
the
Who.
show. Like, I didn't know anyone. So yeah, I wouldn't have had that speculation. But I wonder back then, would it have been certain parts of the internet would have been like, oh, nowadays it would be Mark Gatiss, Master confirmed ? On like so many clickbait articles. Like, here's why Mark Gatiss is the Master kind of thing, you know?
Yeah. No, I know what you mean. Interesting.
I think the only thing that does ground him to actually being human is that he's very sentimental about the war, and they make that the only piece of his humanity that he clings to, is he remembers the war and cowering in the church, and like they do ground him very heavily in his own past through that. That is his connection. So yeah, ultimately I think yes, he's a human, but if he was the unbound master, it would play out pretty much the same. Exactly.
And I think, look, I'd like to focus for a second on him being human and that sort of drive. It's an interesting plot line that it's a thread that they pull on just a little bit, that sort of goes, you know, he keeps focusing on when he was a child and he was cowering in the church during the Blitz, like a horrific thing striking Britain. People could be dead and gone in seconds, and thinking that he was going to die. And then 60 years later, he's got a life. Like he has lived another 65 years from that moment when he thought he was going to die. And that very much plays into what the Doctor says. Like you thought you were going to die then, and yet you feel like you've not done enough now. Yeah. Like you feel like in the 65 years that between then and now you've wasted.
Yeah, you could have lived a life fulfilled. You could have been happy. You could have done so much. Yeah. You don't need more.
Yeah. You don't need more. You had it. Like you have been since that moment. You have been focusing on having more life to the point that you've not lived one.
Yeah, which is also similar in what he tries to say to the Master. Just stop doing all this. We could live. We could go see the stars. We could travel together. You could be brilliant. We could have fun. You know, you could live a life, kind of, but instead the Master fixates on scheming and plots and extending his life, whereas if he just took the life he had now, he wouldn't need to worry about extending his life.
It's like, and I hate to bring this fandom into here, but it's like Harry Potter, right? Mm-hmm. Voldemort spends so much time. He lives to the age, like by the end of the book, he has died aged like 83. And he made 7 Horcruxes to extend his life and keep him alive.
I think he's younger than that. I think he's like 60.
In his 60s, it's like Dumbledore lived till he was over 100.
Yeah.
And
if you just lived, you'd be fine.
Yeah, exactly. Like you could have done something.
Yeah.
But if it is the Unbound Master, like looking for, I mean, it's on brand, right? Like the Master is trying to look for another way to extend his life. He's come to the end. He's burned through them. And this is something that we've talked about on the show a lot. Like the Master is very heavily hinted at that early on in the Master's life, they burned through their regenerations to get them out of situations. They used it as a tool. And then when it came to the end of it, they were suddenly like, there's no forethought about what that's going to do to you. You just do what's in the moment.
Yeah.
If the doctor is neurodivergent, if the doctor is autistic, the master is ADHD.
Yeah.
Only thinking about what's in front at the time, like burning through things, not focusing.
And I think if this was the Unbound Master, the way I see it ending is, if he found a way to regenerate himself, great. So the next step that Harold Saxon wants is distilling this technology into the laser screwdriver, and maybe the Unbound Master helps him with that, and they work together. And then the second he's got the laser screwdriver, he just turns it on the Unbound Master and reduces him to the little gnome creature like he did, and he puts him in a cage. And he just keeps him. He's like, well, I'm the only master around here.
Yeah, exactly. But lucky for the Saxon master, he turned into a lobster.
Yeah.
Turned into a big old lobster, which I don't know what effect they used on the voice, but it didn't sound like Mark Gatiss.
No.
Like I couldn't even hear the cadence of Mark Gatiss's voice. Like most audio editing, like things like that, you can hear the person speak.
Yeah. And while we were watching it, we also agreed that the CG
has aged terribly.
Yeah.
I think it's because that period of Doctor Who between 2005 and 2008, 9 is when Doctor Who was still in standard definition. It wasn't in high definition. The CG has come along so much. I remember Douglas McKinnon was talking about when he directed Doctor Who versus when he directed Good Omens. So in an episode of Doctor Who that he directed in 2005, there were 5 CG scenes. In Good Omens, there were 500. Like, we've come a long way, and CG's come a long way. But because they relied so heavily on CG in this period of the late noughties, it looks worse than it did in Classic Who.
Yeah.
Honestly, the CG is...
Because it's clearly not in the room with them.
No. I mean, there are some... I've been talking about this a lot lately. Revenge of the Cybermen. That is one of Doctor Who's best uses of chroma key ever. It is so crisp, so clear, that it's almost seamless. I've never seen better chroma key used ever. And which, for people at home, that's green screen. Which, fun fact, do you know why green screen is green?
Yes.
Because of the TARDIS.
Yep. Couldn't be blue.
Couldn't be blue. But do you know what colour the BBC actually used for most of the time?
No.
Yellow.
Oh.
They used a very flat yellow, which got a very crisp thing. Like, nowadays we just use green because I think it's that shade of green shadowing doesn't change it much.
Yep.
So you can have a whole room that's green and people in green suits, and the shadows don't change the texture of it much. But yeah.
Puppets would be better. Like, if this had been like a Thing style puppet, like
right.
or like the Fly, like that physical monster, like disgusting. Like with the shine on the skin, it would have been like really creepy. But obviously that effects budget would have been too much for them.
If they'd done this today, if they'd done this with the old Disney money, oof.
Yeah.
Like look at not even. You look at Church on Ruby Road. How many minutes is the Goblin King in shot?
Yeah.
Like, it's kind of nice talking about just an ordinary Doctor Who story. For once, it's just going into the story in and of itself. Whether or not this has a master in it.
Yes.
But this is almost a Raston Warrior review at the same time.
Overall, I think that you can very easily slot this into a headcanon of this being.
Yeah.
You wouldn't have to change much to say to yourself, I think this is the Unbound Master. It would work.
Yeah, well, I think the thing about headcanon, and I think we need to find like a word for like a measure of how much mental gymnastics you need to fit something into your headcanon. Like I want in my head, I want to call the unit a chibnall. Like how many chibnalls is this?
I was going to say, how many, is it a gold medal? Because it's gymnastics. Is it a gold medal? Is it a silver medal? Is it a bronze medal?
I mean, like,
how well does this gymnastics need to be? I'm getting mixed up.
You're mixing up my metaphor,
Yeah.
Hadi. No, it's one of those like how
I give this headcanon 2.5 chibnals.
yeah, it's just like it on the Chibnall scale. It's it's a 2. Like this is you don't need to do much work at all.
No, you just need to retcon his humanity as a child in the Blitz and his relationship with Mrs. Thor, whatever her name is.
2.5 millichibs.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, Mrs. Thor is another part of that wonderful line. You think I would spend another lifetime on you? Waste another lifetime on you.
Yeah.
Did this machine make you so callous and cold? No, dear, I learnt that from you.
Yeah, it all fit. Like, you could hear the master saying that.
Absolutely.
So, yeah.
I mean, that's just Mark Gatiss plays. He plays sort of aloof and cruel very, very well. And let us not forget, this is the first time that Mark Gatiss has appeared in Doctor Who, and he has since gone on.
Yeah.
He has appeared more times than any other actor, I believe, in the role. I mean, there's some Michael Wisher, maybe, because he played some Daleks as well. But yeah, Mark Gatiss after this went on to do the voice of Danny Boy, the pilot.
That's right.
Danny Boy to the Doctor. Danny Boy to the Doctor. And then he played Gavrock, which he was credited under a different name, the Viking that plays live chess with the Doctor. And then, of course, he played Archibald Hamish Lethbridge Stewart, Lethbridge Stewart's grandfather. You could tell they really wanted it to be his father, but
It just couldn't quite get to work.
couldn't quite get the timing to work. Yeah. Also, interestingly, that episode in that scene where Mark Gatiss is in the crater holding the gun against the German soldier is played by Toby Whitehouse, who is also a Doctor Who writer.
Oh, nice.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, if you want to hear us talk about Mark Gatiss more, you can go listen to the Sympathy for the Devil episode 12 of Series 1.
Yes, the final episode of Series 1. Dun, dun, dun. I can't believe we've done a whole series. But yeah, this does not require mental gymnastics, and I think it's just a great performance. Yeah, whether he's playing either of the characters, he can easily be playing both of them well.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Thanks for that conversation point, Gaz.
Thank you, Gaz. More of that. If anyone else has any more messages for us, do let us know.
Yes. Obviously, we respond to any like asks or reblogs we get on the blog, but if you'd like to contact us more directly, you can.
Yes.
And
Stick a message in the bag.
Yeah, and you can force us to talk about whatever you want. My suggestion would be to pick your favorite fan fictions and send them in, and you can force Ciarán to read them and then talk about them.
It's very fortunate that you and I are friends because we can talk about Doctor Who to one another. Neither of us have many friends who are Doctor Who fans.
Not to the same extent, like people who watch, but...
Yeah. And then, of course, we have partners.
Yes.
Who are not big Doctor... Like, we're having to indoctrinate them.
Well, Callum has listened to more Big Finish than I probably have.
Really?
Yes, Callum's listened to the entire Spotify playlist. He ran out of audio on Big Spotify to listen to. On Big Spotify?
On Big Spotify. Big Spotify.
Callum
They're the ones behind this Big
like,
Spotify.
Callum's heard all of Jago and Lightfoot.
Oh, wow. Amazing.
Yeah.
That's fine. But the thing is, he wasn't before he met you, right? Or not as much?
He hadn't seen much New Who. He stopped watching after or around 11.
Because now you're showing him Doctor Who. Like, you're showing, like, you guys are sitting down watching Doctor Who. Like, same as me and Claire.
And no classic. He wouldn't have seen much.
Yeah. And so, like, Claire hadn't seen much Doctor Who. Like, it's a weird experience taking something that, I mean, especially for myself, something that is such an integral part to who I am as a person, and being like, here,
yes,
watch this, and then enjoying the do you find the same thing? Like, I suppose with any person who loves something and you're showing it to someone who you like, it's hard to stop yourself doing the whole looking to the side to see if they're smiling, to see if are they laughing at that. Why didn't they laugh at that joke? It's a tough thing, isn't it?
Callum's actually a very vocal watcher.
Oh, really?
So I don't have to worry about that.
Oh, that's good.
If
Okay.
He
Yeah,
will say if he likes or dislikes something as it's happening.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, he's a commentator.
Oh, okay. Wonderful.
Yeah. So
That would frustrate the fuck out of me.
like, when relevant,
When
not,
relevant,
not
yeah.
not interrupting things. But
Yeah. Yeah, no, it's always fun, like showing Claire stuff, especially stuff that is genuinely actually stood up really well and is quite funny.
yes.
Um,
Yeah, we've been watching through the Key to Time
yes.
because Callum was like, "Oh, I want to see Tom Baker stuff," and I was like, "Well, I got the Key to Time box set. That's probably a good spot to
absolutely.
start to go through there." So, and it is one of those things where it's like, yeah, this is like generally fantastic Doctor Who. I think the
You
the
didn't
pirate.
like the power of Kroll, did you?
No, we didn't. But the Pirate Planet is like, oh, this is maybe the best episode ever.
It is top tier Doctor Who story. Like Douglas Adams' writing is just mwah.
With Tom Baker as the Doctor, and you've also got like Romana as the companion. Like it is just, you remember why this is a cultural phenomenon, and like this at the time, just having incidentally one of the best sci-fi writers writing for you.
Yeah.
Just on the side, like.
Yeah, and like just the breakneck speed, like, and it's as good as it's as good as, if not better than, David Tennant in like a lot of his like breakneck like language.
Yeah.
Like we were watching City of Death, where the one, oh, what a delightful butler, he's so violent. I'm the Doctor, that's Romana, that's Duggan, this is a remarkably comfortable Louis Cahn's chair, may I sit down?
Yeah.
Beautiful. Absolutely gorgeous.
And you'll be happy. This watching Key to Time has made Callum wish and hope that K9 will return.
Affirmative, master.
He wants him back in the TARDIS.
So the problem with K9, K9's rights are held by Bob Baker and Dave Martin.
Yep.
Which they tried very unsuccessfully to start an Australian TV show.
Yes, that's right. The other day we were watching series 10 with Bill and 12.
Yeah.
And Nardole.
Yeah.
And Callum just turned to me and went, "Is Nardole just the new K9?"
Yep.
I was like,
Basically.
yeah, kind of.
I do want more K9. I mean, John Leeson's getting on a bit. But if you need a new actor. So I often will put on like I'll often start playing a video game, and Claire will be playing a video game, and I'll put on Big Finish on the speakers in the lounge, and we'll listen to that. And like some of them are hit and miss, because of course, like I find the ones that I really enjoy are the ones that are quite have a certain amount of reference to other Doctor Who stories. And I suppose if you don't have that reference, they're not quite as enjoyable.
So we're going on this holiday to the UK later this year. And basically I've made it clear that I will be hauling back as much Doctor Who 5.5 figures as I can get into a suitcase.
Yeah.
That's my goal. Because as we know here, it's impossible to get them.
Yeah, absolutely
So
possible.
I'm going with a list for both of us. And you sent me a place in Manchester that's got cabinets full.
Yeah.
And I even said to Callum, what are the chances of a day trip from York to Manchester? And he was like, what Doctor Who thing is there that you want? And I was like, this place with cabinets full.
It's so I saw this online. I saw it it pops up a little bit on my feed because I follow a lot of figure modifiers and stuff. I believe it's a place called Star Wars Man in Manchester. And yeah, just huge cabinets. They look like they're about to fall out of the cabinets. Like there's just multiple of all these different figures.
Like I have a day set aside that is the Doctor Who store day.
So like you're going to go to like Forbidden Planet and stuff like that?
There is specifically the Doctor Who store and museum.
Oh, wonderful.
Just outside of London. That I'm like, this day, if it's even the only thing we do, is the day we are traveling out to the museum, because they have props and all kinds of things there. So
are you going to do the I'm giving you too many things to do on your holiday. But you know that there's a Doctor Who escape room, right? Yeah,
okay.
and it's canonically part of
No.
it's canonically part of the Time Lord Victorious story.
I will put that on the list. So yeah, I even at one point was like, is there a quarry tour? And Callum forbid me from, he's like, we are not going to see a quarry while we're in the UK. And I was like, but we could pretend we're in Doctor Who. And he was like, no, we're not going to a quarry.
Oh, it's amazing. There's
So everyone send in petitions. Say like,
go to a quarry.
we want to go to a quarry. If enough
He'll go and he'll
Patreons,
leave you there.
if enough Patreons back us say, Callum, let her go to the quarry.
£1 per pebble. So it's funny, we talked about Mark Gatiss. Mark Gatiss is a massive Doctor Who fan and has been for years. There's an episode of The League of Gentlemen where he is playing a tour guide to the caves, and they filmed in the actual caves where they filmed Revenge of the Cybermen. I've been talking about Revenge a lot lately. I don't know why, it just keeps coming up. But
stop bringing it up. I can't help it. It's coming up naturally in conversation.
I can't help that it relates to everything.
Yeah, we'll be at the podcast drinks next week, and you'll be like, "So, is
Revenge of the Cybermen." Yeah. Oh.
I'll get there first. Now, everyone, there's a strong chance that Ciarán may bring up Revenge of the Cybermen tonight. Just let him wear himself out.
Oh dear. I don't talk about Doctor Who with anyone else except you. Like, I talk to Claire, and she is, bless her heart. She's, yes, dear. Yes. That's I'm happy you're happy.
Callum has to control my spending when I'm like, oh, an Auton figure, and he's like, that just looks like a badly painted regular action figure. Like, no, I'm not going to let you get that one.
Aw. Oh no.
He did let me get some Doctor Who books instead.
Oh, that's nice. Yeah.
I'm going to point out, he doesn't control my spending. He is just a very strong voice of reason.
It doesn't control. Yeah, so I'm keen to. I hope that he enjoys it on. He can come to enjoy it on the same level.
Like I said, he's listened to more Big Finish than me. Like when he sees us doing a Big Finish episode, he's excited. Bless him. He's incredible because he's also one of our biggest fans. Because he's like, the second he sees one of our episodes comes up, he's like, oh, straight away. What he listens to on his way to work.
Do you know how rare that is? Like, I tell podcasters all the time, I'm like, your family and friends aren't going to listen to you. No one you know is going to listen to you. They love you. Don't think they don't love you, but they're not going to listen to you because they heard you in person, and like,
yeah,
no one cares quite as much about what you're talking about as you do. But I'm glad that Callum listens. Callum is a lovely, lovely person.
Yes, he also has his own podcast, Secondhand Haunting.
Nice plug.
Yeah.
Nice plug there. We don't often do plugs.
Some of my notes even come from him, and he's like, you don't need to credit me.
Aw.
Some of them are just observations. They'll come from him. If it's a significant one, I'll try and give him a shout out about it. But we watch together. I guess that's the biggest thing.
Yeah. Well, that's yeah.
And he always tries to. I don't know if he'll listen to this, but he always tries to come up with questions for Please Attend Carefully. He's not very good at it.
They're just because you've told me this before. He not that we're like slagging him off regularly
no.
or anything like that. But you've told me this before where he does the you should ask that. It's like, no, it's a plot point that's gonna.
I need to talk about it.
I need to talk about it. It's gonna come up.
Or it's questions. I'm like, they have to be master themed questions. These are Doctor themed questions. Anyway, we're way out of topic.
Yeah,
I don't even know.
I think we've had a nice chat, and this is a if you've enjoyed this Patreon exclusive ramble,
yeah, certified ramble.
Certified ramble. You know what I keep? Just a little thing, just at the end here. Every week I keep looking at the character options website and wondering whether I can spend the $80 on getting the fugitive Doctor and her TARDIS.
I want it too.
It's like $80 though. It is so much.
It's online only, isn't it?
It is only online and only through the character options website.
I say there's no way I'm going to be able to get it in the UK, or I would, and it would just be a resale price.
Yeah, right.
Yeah,
it's one of those things.
I don't need the TARDIS. I think that's my thing.
Right.
I'm not going to pay for the TARDIS because I don't need it. Because I think, in my opinion, this is merch talk, but the cookie jar that came out, in the. Mm-hmm. There's a cookie jar that plays a TARDIS sound when you open the lid.
Yeah.
That is the best TARDIS toy. Because it's slightly bigger than the toys, so it's kind of a little bit more to scale, and it opens at the top so you can put them in it if you want.
Oh, okay. So the one I've got is I've got the 5.5 scale one from the 50th anniversary. And it's got like a button on the bottom that, like, when you put it down, like the button presses and the lights come on, and it's got like a weird like thing in the bottom. So what you do is you stick your finger in and then you spin it, and it spins and it makes the yeah, it's a bit weird. It just sits on my shelf. And that's the thing. I don't need the TARDIS. I want the Fugitive Doctor. But at the same time, I have to kind of go like, do I get it right when I missed out on the 14th Doctor and the Curator? Because like they're the only things I really want. I don't know.
Yeah. So if you want to make us talk about something like we talked about Lazarus, back us on Patreon at the Computer Bank tier.
Yes.
Or you can send us a more sort of low-key general question from the Horsebox tier.
Nice. Well, you'll be hearing from us. I don't know, man.